All right. What's good, people? Pete from PFM Fit here. Got my notes, got my water for hydration, and yeah, I'm ready to just sit down and have a little chat with you guys. So hopefully you got some water or some kind of hydrating liquids. But yeah, sit back and let's talk today. What are we talking about? Finally, I'm making my video that I've wanted to make, that I've mentioned in a few other videos, talking about what I've learned from my bodybuilding phase, basically that I've been doing all summer. I've probably been bodybuilding, in my eyes, for about 4 months at least, maybe 4 or 5 months. Obviously, I haven't competed, but I definitely changed my training, and also, yeah, the main reason I think I'm doing bodybuilding is because I pretty much just went on YouTube, and instead of watching the normal heavy strength bros I normally watch, I was watching a bunch of bodybuilders lately, and I just took a bunch of tips and tricks and stuff from their training and applied it. And then kind of put my own twist on it as the months went by, and ideas started churning in my head as I was training in this new way and figuring out my body and learning about the gains. But yeah, so right here I got on my list. I got some pros, I got some cons, and my overall thoughts on bodybuilding. Let's start with the first pro, which was actually something interesting that I actually did not really think you could do with bodybuilding, okay? Which is get stronger, all right? It's weird, and maybe this is just me actually taking like accessory work seriously and tracking it more and progressive overloading it a little bit more diligently, let's say. But I was able to, while losing body weight as the summer and the heat churned on and I got very busy with athletics, my body weight was going down from the winter, and so was my strength, until I started actually tracking the weight on certain accessory lifts. Basically, my main lifts were going down. My bench, my squat, all that stuff was getting a little weaker, unfortunately. And we weren't going to be able to hit any lifetime 1 rep max PRs anymore. So that's why I figured, well, let's focus on physique now. But we still managed to PR and add weight like every single week on all these exercises I was doing, which was the first thing that kind of I noticed that also kept me like wanting to keep going on the bodybuilding phase. Like week by week, I was actually making improvements. I could get better. I could enjoy the pump. I could lift a little more weight while enjoying the pump. So I really enjoyed that. I'll just be very honest. And I also didn't realize that's what bodybuilding could be about. Like, I thought it was just about the pump and you don't worry about the weight or, well, pretty much that. You just go based on the muscle feel. You go till fail. You just go till the burn is there. You go till you can see the veins in the mirror. Like, I don't know. I didn't really think you focused on the weight, because when I was a teenager, I was definitely well, actually, I wouldn't even call it bodybuilding based on the way I just described what I used to think bodybuilding was, because that's what I used to do. So that's what I thought bodybuilding was. But now I've learned. Bodybuilding is actually getting stronger and bigger. It's actually like, what did I call it the other day? I was working out with my friend. I literally called it like strong bodybuilding. Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing like heavy sets of like 6 to 10 or like 8 to 12, and I might even transition to doing like 4 to 8s or 2 to 6 reps. So kind of like lower rep ranges there, like 3 to 4s. But yeah, strong bodybuilding. I don't know. Like, the interesting thing though is maybe I was influenced towards that because when I was growing up and I was a teenager, and the first people I would watch on the internet were, juiced up roid heads who probably don't know how to train, and I was just getting bro science advice from them. They probably do just chase the pump because it worked for them. They didn't need to track weight or progressive overload because the steroids did like 90% of the work for them. Who knows? And that rubbed off on me, who just copied the way they trained, minus the steroids, of course. So that's why I was a scrawny, no gains teen, I guess. But now we started training legitimately, and here's what I actually did that I thought was the most intelligent part of this bodybuilding phase. Since I'm natural, I thought the best way to learn about bodybuilding that would apply to me, since I'm sick of copying gear users whose training isn't going to apply to me, I don't think, I started looking up natural bodybuilders, started finding people who were natties. So, just to name my top 3 right now, I could say Bald Omni Man for 100%. Great natural fucking muscle builder, let's say. Huge dude. And strong as fuck. Natural hypertrophy, also strong as fuck. Also looks freaking huge, and has a great physique. And then Max Taylor, again, strong as fuck, looks freaking jacked, looks shredded, and he's even competed too. And the guy won a sword for coming in second place in a bodybuilding show. That alone actually makes me want to compete. If I know that what's at stake is I could win a sword, okay, trophy, medal, sure. Sword? Sign me up, bro. I'll cut the weight. I'll do it. I'll diet. I seriously would consider that. But anyways, that's the first pro, was that you can actually get strong as a bodybuilder. And since I wasn't able to 1-rep max, I don't like the idea of, I hit not a lifetime PR, but a lighter body weight PR. Like, I don't really care about that. No one cares that I hit, 245 at under 200 pounds body weight. No one asked. They want to know what my 1-rep max is, which is 275. So until we get past 275, doesn't matter. Well, we're gonna have to push a bulk this winter to maybe hit some lifetime PRs, because that's what I'm really excited for again as I transition out of the bodybuilding phase. But anyways, that's the first pro I learned. Next pro though is you actually can get bigger and leaner looking, let's say, or maybe even leaner. I don't know. I didn't have any scans or whatever, but I just go by what's in the mirror every day. You can get bigger and leaner without losing or gaining much weight. I honestly feel like all I did by tracking my lifts more, tracking my accessories, and also sticking with the same accessories for a few weeks in a row to do that overload of it, a few weeks and hit a peak day, where you can't overload anymore. I feel like that alone actually put me into another noob gain phase, maybe, even though I've been training for 3 years. But I was training kind of erratically, I guess. But I was also kind of trying every exercise that I could try, because I just wanted to figure out which ones I liked the best. So it was a necessary research phase, a little R&D, if you will, research and development on the exercise front to figure out what we like. But now that I know my top 5 to 7 exercises for every muscle group, I'm just going to keep cycling through all those. And that's another cool bunch of videos I want to make too, like my top 3, top 5, top 10 favorite exercises for muscle groups. That sounds really fun. But anyways, yeah, the next pro, getting bigger and leaner looking without your weight actually changing much on the scale. I am ridiculously impressed with the way I transformed my physique over the summer. I know I'm sitting down, so don't take the flexing too seriously, We're not really pumped here. I didn't even work out today. Today's a rest day. Well, we're not in the gym today. We're playing soccer in about 45 minutes. So, active rest day, a little cardio day, whatever you want to call it. But, what was I saying? Oh, my physique has never looked more aesthetically pleasing in my eyes than when I focused on bodybuilding and I was losing weight but getting bigger and also leaner looking, Well, okay, so I guess the losing weight part makes sense. But I wasn't intentionally cutting. I wasn't even changing my diet. It just got hotter in the summer, and I just sweat more. That was literally the cut. I don't know. Maybe I'm young and that just works for me. But either way, hopefully we can do the opposite in the winter and hibernate a little and add some fluff and then, bulk and hit PRs. But yeah, I've never looked so lean or so jacked while also kind of losing weight, but not really losing too much weight. I only lost about 10 pounds. I went from about 210 to 200-ish, about, let's say. But anyways, that was the second main pro, is that even though I'm not technically as heavy big as I was in the winter when I was also my peak strongest and hitting all my lifetime PRs, I look bigger and more jacked than I did when I was that big. Although it is a bit of an optical illusion, because when I measure my arms, which look more jacked and look more peeled and have a vein when I get a good pump, they're only 15 and 3/4 inches. Though in the winter, without many veins and whatnot, but we weren't lifting as much weight. We were getting about 16 and a half inch pumps, but that's probably with the extra fluff, let's say. So I have claimed 16-inch arms before, but these days we're cooking about 15 and a half, if we're being brutally honest. So either way, next pro, I learned a fuck ton about discipline, perseverance, programming, volume, RPE, rep schemes, splits, everything imaginable, because bodybuilding, I feel like you have room to experiment. Like if you do like 6, 7, 8 exercises a workout, you can try different rep ranges and different like set configurations on each thing, and you learn a little bit about each one, especially for each different muscle group. Certain muscle groups respond better to certain rep ranges, I think. Like for me, like delts and traps, I like to keep it a little higher rep, like, 15 to 20 reps, let's say, versus, freaking, bench press, we're keeping it like 6 to 10, less reps, whatever. And, same for most back movements, so we're going a little heavier and less rep. But the point is I'm not necessarily saying that this is all bodybuilding to thank for me just following a program, because obviously every, like semi-disciplined or semi-decent lifter in other disciplines of lifting follows programs, but I'm just saying the bodybuilding programs where I was able to add a few reps every week, and then after I hit the max reps, add some weight every like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that felt really rewarding. And like I'm getting a lot out of it, like I'm getting a good return compared to like just the mundane 5x5 or like 4x6, like all that very unforgiving, like heavy stuff that I consider powerlifting when I do in my winter bulk phase. Like that stuff, it's tough to keep overloading week by week without just like fatiguing your joints and hurting your elbows and inflaming the shoulders. But the bodybuilding was actually I was able to consistently overload on a lot of exercises while I also was in a, reduced like weight phase. I wasn't as bulky and big as I normally was. So I don't know. It was very enlightening from that aspect. So those are the main cons, the main pros. I was actually able to get stronger in a lot of ways. I got a lot bigger and a lot leaner and added muscle to smaller muscle groups that I wasn't always isolating before or taking as seriously in isolation before. Mainly, I would say my delts and my traps, and I think I'm going to try and apply that to arms next, do a lot of buy and try work. Then, also the, just the discipline and the focus and the joy and excitement of actually following through like a progressive overload, with progressive overload in your program for a few weeks. That was something that I really took away from this bodybuilding phase, that hopefully I now have the maturity to apply to a strength phase in the winter. You see where I'm going with that? It's not like I'm saying, like I'm not trying to, say like, oh, strength lifters are cavemen or some shit, because no, that was just me. I was being a caveman by not following any programs and just kind of winging it every workout, just trying to lift more than last week, harder than last time, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I was just being a caveman. I'm not going to throw these giant labels onto the other disciplines of strength like they're cavemen, Maybe they are, but I can't speak from personal experience outside of the fact that I know I was being a caveman and not being as structured and disciplined as I should be. But now that we understand structure, now that we understand discipline, in the gym context at least, we're going to try and apply that to a strength phase to hit a fat bunch of lifetime PRs this winter. It's going to be crazy. Anyways, let's talk on the cons now. The main con is I have not 1 rep maxed in months, and I'm yearning for the feeling. Like, I feel like bodybuilding is like mellow. Like, to me at least. Obviously, yeah, fucking Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, those guys go pretty hard, and I try and emulate that when I can. But it's a different kind of hard when you're going like all out pump sets to fail. And no, we're not talking about Ronnie Coleman's, 800 solid ass pounds. We're not talking about that. Obviously, he went heavy, but we're talking about like going hard for the pump versus getting hyped up for a 1 rep max. Different universe of mindset, different universe, at least to me. Maybe for some people it's the same, but to me it's not. Bodybuilding, it's just mellow to me. Like I'm there grinding on a nice pump, going to good technical failure, but I don't need to like have that mindset of like, you know, like get this rep or your dog dies. Like get this rep or you're crushed under the weight of this bar that is more than your body weight. Like you just let the cable go. It's fine. You just put the dumbbells down with bodybuilding. It's fine. You know, like the direness isn't there. The life or death mindset isn't there when you're not one rep maxing. And maybe that's just me, but I miss one rep maxing. So I am, like I said, I'm willing to bodybuild for a sword. I'm also willing to dirty bulk for that 315 bench. I don't want to be that guy though. So I'm thinking I could probably do a clean bulk and also just use programming and then hopefully hit a noob gain strength phase where I actually use good programming for a while and then just hit 315 like a normal person. You know, but anyways, that's the main con. But at the same time, you know, not one rep maxing, but at the same time, there's pros, which is that all these 6 to 10s and 6 to 12 and 8 to 12 rep sets have started becoming maxes now. I'm at a point where I'm doing sets of 6 to 10 or 8 to 12 with heavier weight than ever before. And yes, I haven't touched a one rep max in a while, but I'm actually building up my, you know, my rep endurance on heavy compounds, you know, like bench press, you know, barbell rows, squats, RDLs. I'm doing it on the heaviest, you know, my favorite heavy lifts, you know, especially for pressing movements. And I'm getting stronger than ever before, which is actually kind of fascinating. So I actually did not manage to lose out on this bodybuilding phase, let's say. Just because we lost weight did not mean we had to lose any strength or necessarily lose size because we got bigger looking or leaner looking. So it kind of worked itself out there. But the whole point of how I think I can make the cut bulk work for me is essentially if I'm able to rep the weights. All right, how do I explain this? Let's say I hit new maxes this winter, lifetime PRs. Going into the next summer bulk, we want to be repping the lifetime PRs from 2 bulks ago. You see what I mean? And then when we get to the next winter bulk, more lifetime PRs. But then when we're in the summer cut phase again, we want to be repping old bulk weight. You know, bulk weight from the previous year, bulk weight from the previous year, essentially, where we just get to a point where basically we're the strongest we've ever been in the winter, and then we're the strongest we've ever been while being lean in the next summer. You know, we're stronger than we were the year previously in that winter while being leaner. I don't know if that makes sense. All right, maybe it made sense. Hold on. Yeah, it made sense. You get it. Just rewind that a few times. You know, sometimes you got to reread things. Sometimes you got to rewind the video a couple of times because the words just jumble out of my mouth a little bit, and sometimes it's not a coherent sentence. But that's what the proofreading's for. Just rewind the video. Don't worry about it. Anyways, next con, mileage. Yeah, that actually is a big one. I'm not 100% sure, though. I have not fully narrowed down what the root cause, you know. We love the root cause. We all know who loves the root cause. The VP loves the root causes. But the root cause, I'm not 100% sure. Mileage from bodybuilding is still a thing, though. Injuries from bodybuilding, just because you're going a little lighter and you're not one rep maxing, you're not ego lifting as much, you know, you're trying to be strict form, whatever. And again, I'm talking about myself, the old caveman, the immature caveman that I was. You can still get injured from bodybuilding mileage. My rotator cuff, I think I have a shoulder impingement right now, is what the pain feels like based on what I've researched. But I've also done a really good job immediately rehabbing and taking out the things that I think were causing that pain and making it worse. And I'm also doing rehab things to improve the pain, reduce it, and make it better again. So anyways, the point is instead of going hard with one rep maxing and ego lifting like I was doing before when I was bulking, now that we were bodybuilding, I was going hard on high rep, high volume, you know, doing lots of sets with lots of reps. So that accumulates its own mileage, you know, which I thought I'd be safe. You know, I actually was safe for a while. And here's where I think it might not be bodybuilding's fault. I think I might have just I think my wax wings may have melted a little bit as I, flew a little too close to the sun with my delt training, let's say, like poor Icarus. But essentially, I thought to speed up my delt training, well, let's do it twice a week. So first we were training rear delts twice a week, then side delts twice a week with double side delt raises with dumbbells. And then I said, you know what? I'm already overhead pressing and bench pressing and close grip pressing, which I guess probably hits my front delts. And everyone says you hit enough front delts, but why don't I throw in more front delt work and do some front delt raises, with dumbbells? Obviously a good idea if you want to build your shoulders faster, like I did, because it's one of my weak points, I would say, my main weak point. But either way, the point is, I think the shoulder pain started accumulating when I overdid it with that. And since I took the front raises out, we have had much less pain since, and the pain seemingly is continuing to decrease more and more. And also, my other heavy lifts are feeling better and better. And side delt raises and rear delt flies still feel good. So I think it was just the front delt raises. But either way, the mileage is still a thing, though, on the bodybuilding. Because I feel like elbows, knees, like the bicep tendons a little bit, wrists, all of it was a little tough to recover from. But again, that could also be me overtraining, because I did go through another point of enlightenment through this bodybuilding phase where I was experimenting with splits. I was doing total body. I was doing, chest and back, arms and shoulders, then legs and all this stuff. Crazy 3-day, 4-day, 5-day, 6-day splits. I was doing a shit ton of different routines, and I got to a point where I realized I've added too much, so I found the maximum of what I can handle, the maximum. Now I need to work backwards from here, figuring out the minimum, which is what I've been doing gradually, taking things out, reducing sets here and there, and optimizing my workouts to be more efficient and not have a bunch of junk volume. So that's another interesting point of enlightenment that I learned from this bodybuilding phase. Anyways, those are the main two cons, I would say, is I haven't won at max in a while, but I think that's on the horizon. And we have still PR'd in some ways with multiple repping, like hitting sets of 6 to 10, 10 to 12, whatever, stuff like that. Another con is bodybuilding is not safe from injury either. You can get overuse issues. You can get issues from doing too much volume and too many exercises and not giving yourself enough time to recover, which I feel like is probably obvious, but in hindsight, yeah, sure, it's obvious now, but it wasn't obvious when I thought, 3 total body workouts a week with 10 exercises, 3 sets apiece, 3 30-set workouts was a good idea. And then also doing 6 days a week, cut all that total body in half and times the workout days by 2. You get my point. Tried so many crazy splits, but in the end I figured out all I need is about 4 days, maybe 5. So, for now at least. Who knows what will be in the future. Either way, let's talk about the overall thoughts here, the conclusion. I certainly learned a lot about bodybuilding training, and I think what mainly taught me these principles is following and watching veteran, natural, physique-based lifters. I'm not calling them all bodybuilders because they haven't all competed in the sport of bodybuilding, but they consider themselves muscle builders, physique trainers. Strength is not their main goal. Their main goal is the aesthetics. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess they probably consider themselves bodybuilders. I'm not being nitpicky about it, I guess. But I guess if you're training like a bodybuilder, you're a bodybuilder. But either way, I learned the most from them. And also, I think the reason I retained all this information so well is because it applied to me better than all the advice I was following for years prior from, people who use gear or professional athletes or people who are not necessarily like in the same league as me because they're in a much higher league than me or in a different league because they take PEDs. Like, that's the part I got to realize. But then I realized when I started training like people who are in my league, who are just natural lifters, and the only difference between me and them is the extra years they've put into the craft that I have, yet to experience and try and get to do, and time will give me that opportunity. I can actually become like them. It's realistic. There's a realistic expectation that if I follow their principles, and I've already seen it so far based on just what I've applied in a small several month window of a one summer training cycle, you know, I just think that is probably my biggest takeaway, is that this has applied to me the most because I actually followed, you know, lifting advice from people who, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago were a young version of me. You know, they were where I'm at now, and they're sharing their wisdom down to me, and the best I can do is apply it at my younger age, and then hopefully, you know, get the desired outcome a little bit sooner than they did, or sooner than I would have by figuring things out on my own, at least, you know. But yeah, I think another interesting thing I learned is that I can be bigger and leaner looking at a lighter body weight, because I somehow look bigger even though I'm not bigger, but at the same time I am bigger because my clothes fit differently. So I don't know. I'm bigger, I guess. I look bigger. We're not quite lifting as big yet, but that'll be interesting. Although I guess I'm curious. Imagine if I'll look even bigger if I bulk this winter compared to last year's bulk, but at the similar body weights of like 210, 215-ish. But yeah, also getting, you know, stronger on all fronts, like all the accessories and stuff, the way I overloaded that and was able to just progress on that frequently, you know, either adding a few reps each week or hitting the max reps and then adding weight the next week, was just really rewarding, I guess, and I want to keep doing it. So I'm going to keep programming my accessories that way. And yeah, we're going to transition into a strength phase very soon, though. I have a few final bodybuilding, like, milestones I kind of want to reach on certain exercises first, and then once I hit those, I'm going to transition into powerlifting 1 rep max caveman style. That's what we're going back to. So if you guys are excited for that, make sure to follow and be ready and stay tuned to keep up with the videos. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for today, though, people. Let's go over the pros again real quick just to summarize. We got stronger in rep ranges, not 1 rep max, but we did get stronger, and we got leaner, and we got bigger. And we learned discipline. We learned to persevere and follow through a program. And I think that's just a really, really good takeaway that I'm going to hopefully be able to apply to my training for years to come and actually, you know, streamline my results that I wasn't really optimizing before by not sticking to a program. And maybe that's just my own ignorance, or maybe a lot of people do this and you kind of need the, you know, you needed to see this to remind yourself to follow a program as well. Who knows? But either way, let me know how you found the channel in the comments. Let me know if you got any questions. I'll definitely get, you know, reach out and respond to that. So yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. It's been your boy Pete from PFM Fit. Peace. See you.